Hey, you're listening to a special edition of the Riverdale podcast. This is a conversation with Ron Dante. My name is Jonathan. Welcome to lovely Riverdale, USA. This is an Archie Comics fan podcast. This is a supplement to our regular weekly Saturday morning episodes where we talk about the week in the world of Archie Comics. We go through the new releases of the week and the news of the week, and we talk about a specific issue. If you are excited about Archie Comics, that is a place you want to be every Saturday morning. Today is a special edition. We're talking to Ron Dante. Ron is the voice behind all of the great Archie's hits of the late 60s and into the 70s. He's the voice you're going to hear on Sugar Sugar, Jingle Jangle, Bang Shang-a-Lang, all of those great Archie hits. And beyond that, he has had a huge, long, storied musical career before the Archies and past beyond the Archies and up until present day, where he's still working and writing and recording and doing great things. But that is a story for him to tell. So, without further ado, Ron Dante, welcome to lovely Riverdale, USA.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here.
I wanted to get a sense of you, where you grew up, when you started playing music. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Well, sure. I grew up in the New York area on an island called Staten Island, fifth borough of New York City, and was surrounded by music most of my life. My father loved to listen to pop music, so I grew up hearing all the latest pop music idols of the 50s. And really loved it. I started to sing when I was about 6, imitating the local, stars of the day, like Frankie Lane and Johnny Ray, and some of those early pioneers of pop music. And when I was about 13, I busted my arm, fell out of a tree playing, and a doctor said, you need to move your wrist or else it'll be stiff the rest of your life. So it's either, squeeze a ball or take up an instrument. So I took up guitar since I was a huge Elvis fan, and ended up writing some songs as a kid, forming a group called the Persuaders, playing some local gigs at 14 and 15. So that's really got me into music. I was a huge fan of late 50s music. The Everly Brothers I loved their sound. I loved, of course, Elvis and Fats Domino and Chuck Berry, all those greats of the late 50s, the Platters, some of my father's stuff that he liked, I grew up loving. And it was early on that I was going to be in the music industry. I was going to do something. There was no doubt in my mind that I could sing a little and I could play a little, and I was going to do as much with that as possible.
Yeah, one of the things I read about you mentioned that you were hanging out outside the Brill building there in New York City.
Yeah, we used to, everybody knew about the Brill building. Any musician, you'd hang out in a club, they'd say, if you get to Manhattan, get up to New York City around 48th Street and Broadway, you got to go to the Brill building. So I would go to the Brill building as a 16, 17-year-old guy with my guitar and pop in on the managers and the record companies that were that would let me in the door, or the publishers. Music publishers were very easy to get into because they were always looking for the next great song, and teenage music was really popular when I was around. It still is, of course. Mm-hmm. So they let me in, they let me play my songs, and one guy signed me up. That was Don Kirshner, very famous music impresario of the 60s, had the hottest publishing company in the world at the time. He had hundreds of hits, so he signed all these great writers like Neil Sedaka and the people who wrote Love and Feeling. All these great songwriters were there, and I got a chance to be on the staff there. And that was really the key to my getting into the music business, with Don Kirshner believing in me.
Yeah, was that before he worked on the Monkees or prior to that?
Yes, it was many years before the Monkees. Not many years, maybe 3 or 4 years before he even got near the Monkees. He was the top music publisher in the country, but primarily publishing young writers. He had teams of writers signed to him. So he even in 1961, 62, he published Locomotion, was one of his biggest hits. He signed Neil Sedaka, who had 10, 15 hits in a row, and he published all Neil's hits. So he was really a big wheel before the Monkees came around. Screen Gems Columbia had purchased his his publishing firm around 1963 for millions of dollars.
Wow.
And all the staff writers who were there on the staff became Screen Gems Columbia writers, songwriters. And we moved buildings to Fifth Avenue. And it was a great move, and it gave us opportunity to write for TV shows and movies. Because Screen Gems Columbia Pictures was huge, and they were doing TV and, of course, TV shows and movies. And that's a few years later. That's when Donnie took on the project of doing the music, for being the music supervisor for the Monkees.
Okay, so you were working with them for then for 6 or 7 years before the Archie's project came around.
That's right. That's right. I actually had worked for him, worked for this, Kirshner's music and then Screen Gems music for about 3 or 4 years. Then I left and I went out on my own, signed with different publishers, made some solo records. I got into commercials, singing commercials, and then I heard about Don Kirshner was music supervising the new Archie series, and a friend of mine was playing on the sessions. And he said, they don't have any singers yet. And I said, well, Don and I are very good friends. I called Don Kirshner up, and I said, Don, I'd like to come in and let me put my voice on one of the tracks and see if you like me for the voice of Archie, the singing voice. And he said, come right over. And I went and I met him and the producer, writer, Jeff Barry, who was very famous at the time also, one of the top songwriters of all time. Mm-hmm. I auditioned for them, and they immediately said, well, let's record you tonight. And I started recording. I did Bang Shang-a-Lang that night, which was our first single.
Love Bang Shang-a-Lang.
I knew that was going to be a successful project because I'd been a long-time fan of the characters, the Archies. I grew up reading Archie comic books. I loved Betty and Veronica, and I just loved the comic and the wholesomeness of it. And so when I got a chance to be a part of an Archie project, I jumped at it.
Yeah, so you grew up reading Archie comics. You were a fan of the Archie properties, and I think maybe knowing not that's what made those songs as exciting as they were, that you were excited about the property itself.
This is very true. I believed in the property. I knew that a TV show based on the characters would be a big success, I felt. Because CBS was a huge network. They were going to promote it. Don Kirshner was a huge success in the music business. The combination of the two of them, I just felt that the Archies were going to take over America, that they were definitely going to be the hit of the year on TV and hopefully music. And both those dreams came true.
Yeah, so what was the vibe like in the studios then? You had some of the best songwriters, you had some of the best session musicians. I mean, do you remember specifically recording specific songs and just the electricity in the room there?
I do. We were in with first Don Kirshner was in the booth, and Jeff Barry, the writer of the songs, most of the songs, producer, was a hit songwriter and producer. I mean, he and his partner Ellie Greenwich had written "Be My Baby," "Hanky Panky," "The Do Run Run," all these '60s hits. They've written maybe 50 hits. So he was a known professional, and he knew how to get a good, energetic rhythm track. I remember specifically the Sugar Sugar session that he took a long time on the rhythm track. He said, this is a good song, and he and Andy Kim had written it. He said, let's get the right feel for it. Finally, Andy Kim brought out his guitar and played the rhythm for the band, and then played on it. And I remember thinking how much they're working on the session. The energy was so high, and the professionalism was so high, and it was so easy to do. I mean, there was nothing hard about those sessions. Everybody was happy to be working on a Jeff Barry session for Don Kirshner and the Archies. Everybody, and they brought their A game. And I remember that Sugar Sugar's vocal took longer than the others because I really wanted to work on the sound. I wanted that sound to be very specific to the song, and I wanted to give it a real personality for Archie. So we worked on it longer than others, and truth be told, it worked. And the song still brings smiles to people's faces, and it was a #1 song all around the world. Even where the TV show wasn't known, even where the Archies, the characters weren't known, that song and that the Archies were a big hit all around the world. A friend of mine has 60 singles with different languages on them from everywhere in the world. Sugar Sugar in different languages. But they didn't change the language of the record, but they changed the labels.
Yep.
It was very interesting.
So what was the relationship then between Don Kirshner and your crew of folks and the folks at Filmation? Were they supplying you with concepts that you guys would put into song, or were you providing them with songs that they would then animate? What do you know? Can you talk about the relationship between them?
Yes, they relied heavily on Don Kirshner's music supervision and his genius at choosing and having songs written for the characters, and they animated to the songs. They got ideas for the scripts from the songs. It was very much music driven. Each show had different had 2 or 3 songs in it: a dance of the week, the theme song, and then the giant jukebox on some of the subsequent years.
Yeah, I love the giant jukebox.
Yeah, so it was driven by music. They actually put the records, 2 of the songs on Sugar Pop's boxes. 10 million of them were put out at the time, and young children were growing up and seeing this record, this plastic record, a cardboard record on the back of their cereal box, and cutting it out and playing it. And that was some of the first exposure they had to pop music. So it was really interesting the way Filmation worked with Kirshner. They respected him so highly because of his genius. I mean, he was a complete musical genius. He just knew what the public would want. Somebody once said he had the heart of a 14-year-old girl because he could connect with teens so well.
And this was a long-running series. This ran in different incarnations for 9 or 10 seasons, I think. How long were you affiliated with the project?
I was there almost every season. I think maybe the last season they kind of changed something, but they didn't add. There wasn't any music I remember that came out of that last season. I don't know why they tinkered with the music. Maybe it was a financial thing. I don't know what it was, but we had 4 or 5 of the biggest seasons on CBS. We were the #1 cartoon show on Saturday mornings. So it was a very, very terrific event to be involved with. It was a successful venture, and I was so proud to be associated with it. They put out a comic book called The Archie's Greatest Hits, with all these series of stories that all dealt with the band, and I did the preface for it, it got such a good reaction.
So let's talk about what you did after Archie. I mean, you had obviously a huge career working on the Archie stuff, really cemented yourself in the music industry, and you went on to produce some amazing records that maybe people aren't aware that you've worked on.
Well, it's funny. I was always into producing myself and other artists. If I could find a good artist, a good singer, good songwriter to work with, you have to take advantage of all the things that come along that come put in your sight. I became a jingle singer, and I was singing commercials for years. And one day I did a commercial with this guy, Barry Manilow, and he was just starting out with Bette Midler as her piano player and arranger. And he said to me after we did the commercial, we sang on it together. He said, I'm a songwriter too, and I'd love you to hear some of my songs. And he played me some of his songs, and one of them was Could It Be Magic? And I said, well, this is one of the super talented fellas I've ever met in my life. And I took him in the studio, and I produced 4 sides on him, and a few months later we had a showcase and got him a record deal. And I worked with him, and I produced all his hits from 1974 till 1983. It was a 10-year cycle, and it was great. I produced everything from Mandy to Copacabana, and I write the songs for Barry. And we're still great friends, and it was a great run. And that's his whole show right now, is the greatest hits. It's amazing. But I also worked with people. I produced Cher. I produced Pat Benatar. I produced Dionne Warwick. I worked with Irene Cara, Ray Charles, John Denver. I worked with a slew of people after the Archies. They seemed to just love the fact that I was the Archies and yet I could produce. They kind of, if you listen to the Barry Manilow records, listen to the backgrounds. It's basically the Archies singing background. It's me and Barry doing all the backgrounds.
I'll have to go back and listen with that in mind.
Yeah, take a look at listen to I write the songs. You'll hear all the oohs and ahs of just me.
That's awesome. So you have made your career doing what you love, which is always something inspiring to hear about. I
have, yes, definitely.
So how then, how then do we get back to the Archies for the 2008 Christmas album? How did that come about?
I got a call from the president of Archie Comics, Michael Silberkleit, before he passed away, a couple of years before he passed away. He invited me to the New York Comic Con. He said, "We'd love you to have you at the booth, and let's talk." So I came into New York from L.A., and I sat at the booth, and I met fans and friends. I sang a few songs, and Michael was there with his wife. And at one point during the afternoon, he said to me, what do you think we should do with the Archies musically? I said, well, we should definitely do a Christmas album. I said, it's time for Archie to have a new album. And he said, okay, I'll give you permission. And I said, I'd like to kind of feature the girls on it, Betty and Veronica, because a lot of girl singers were becoming very famous. Teen singers from Disney were becoming very famous. I said, that's an area that the Archies should be in. And he loved it, and we did it, and it came out a really nice Christmas album, Betty and Veronica's Christmas album. And I'm hoping to do another one someday, but I heard the Archies have just signed with Paramount, or I think it's Warner Brothers, to do a new movie.
Yeah.
So, that'll be a very interesting approach, and I've already contacted the director, who I said, I should write or sing a few pieces in the movie just for good luck. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I think you'd have fan support for that.
I think so.
And that's a great sounding album. I've listened to it. There's a real traditional, guitar-based drums kind of sound, and then there's also a more synthesized kind of sound on that as well.
Well, we tried to do a Christmas album. We can add orchestra to a Christmas album. So I thought we could enhance the band sound a bit. And I was really happy to do that album, and I wish I had gotten it to a bigger label, but it still did very well. There were ads in the comic books for the album, and we sold a lot right through the comic book. So we did very well with that one, and hopefully the new music they prepare will be as good as the old music.
Yeah, I hope so as well. And I was really excited. I was a little bewildered when that record came out. I had no idea it was coming, and I was really thrilled with it.
Yeah, I was happy to do it, and we got the rights to the characters. They drew up a new cover for me. It was very, very nice.
So let's talk about what you're doing now, what's going on, what you're promoting, what you're excited about.
Well, right now I have finished an album with the legendary Steve Lawrence, who was part of the Steve and Edie Gourmet, and Steve and I are friends, and I just produced an album on him called When You Come Back to Me Again. It's a Garth Brooks song that he recorded, and it'll be out in a few months on Curb Records. So I was very proud to have worked with that over the last year. And I'm working with, of course, live shows. I go out and do live shows all the time. I do Busch Gardens, Disney World, Las Vegas, local places. I'll be down in Tennessee this October, Jackson, Tennessee, doing a Caravan of Stars show, singing my Archie hits.
Awesome.
And having a lot of fun. I've also just opened up a new company for new and emerging artists, unsigned artists and bands. It's called TuneGo, TuneGo.com, and it's for people to come in and place their videos and their audios, and be seen by known legendary producers who have signed on. They're part of the elite group of producers that look at the artists, and if we like somebody, we'll produce them and we'll get them record deals. So this is the first of its kind, and it'll be coming. We just went into beta mode. It's online already, TuneGo.com, and it's going to give an opportunity to all the people that don't make American Idol and The Voice.
Yes.
All the people that don't get on the 50 and hundreds of thousands of people that really are good, but they just they just can't take them all. We're going to give people a chance to be successful. It's called the Music Discovery Network, and I hope people come in and visit it.
So you can go there and upload your content for everyone to see?
Yes.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, and it's good. There's already a few hundred artists on it that have just jumped on the first weeks. Great artists, every type of music, from hip hop to rap to country to pop, you name it. We have producers who have done it before, and who will look at the artists, who will take a good hard look at the artists and see who rises to the top in the fan bases. And it's a very good vehicle for new artists to get seen and heard and start to network.
Cool. Well, to wrap up, It's an amazing career looking back. It's exciting to see someone who has the pedigree that you have in pop music, looking to the past and doing concerts, playing those great Archie songs, and then also still moving ahead, obviously, with TuneGo.com and having a web presence and doing all that stuff. It's a cool, inspiring story of someone who loved to do something and is doing it.
Well, I'm very fortunate. I was blessed to have this talent to make music, and one thing about music is you keep growing. You don't have to stay in the same place. You can build on what has come before and move ahead. And music, and it keeps you young, and it keeps changing. I'm aware of all the top stuff that's happening now, and I'm aware of the curve and the way the cycles come around, and how the artists almost are throwbacks a lot of times. Retro artists, they're very familiar. The new boy groups or the girl from Disney.
Yep.
It's very similar to each decade has theirs. And I love it. I love it, and I just hope that the songwriting stays strong in these new eras.
Well, thanks so much for being a part of the show, Ron. If you need us to write any petitions, get you on that movie, let us know.
I'll keep you in mind.
Yeah.
Keep emailing me. Keep me updated on what you're doing.
Will do. Thanks so much.
Okay. Thanks again. Bye.
That's Ron Dante on the Riverdale podcast. I want to thank Ron again for being a part of the show. He was very generous with his time. He's obviously a busy guy doing a lot of cool, exciting things. And how interesting and how unique is his role in the history of Archie Comics? And how great is it that all these years later, he's still waving the flag, still, proud of those accomplishments and those things that he did. Awesome. A great ambassador for Archie Comics, for sure. On the way out, I want to remind everyone to head over to RiverdalePodcast.com. There you'll see a great post for this episode that's going to give you the links to all of Ron Dante's stuff. RonDante.com, his Facebook page, his new project TuneGo that we just heard about. He's always online, always posting tour dates and things like that, so please thank him for being a part of the show by going over and checking out the great things that he's working on. While you're over at RiverdalePodcast.com, you can check out the links to like the show on Facebook, follow the show on Twitter at RiverdalePod, send us an email at RiverdalePodcast@yahoo.com. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, have new episodes delivered to you every Saturday morning. You can listen to us on Stitcher through the Stitcher mobile app. You can listen to us on YouTube at youtube.com/Riverdale Podcast. We are everywhere. We're on Google+. We're on Google+. Go find us there. Also, if you're excited about Archie, you gotta head over to archiefans.com. It's an Archie Comics forum. Everybody's there. Everybody's talking about Archie. I think that's going to do it. I think that's everything you need to know. Again, my name is Jonathan. This is the Riverdale Podcast, and I will see you again soon here in lovely Riverdale, USA.